Hello again, everyone. We only have a few weeks left of Kids Church and going through our devotional of crucial conversations. This week, we're going to finish up the chapter on listening to other people's stories. When we are having crucial conversations where our opinions differ and emotions are high, a lot of times the first thing that we need to do is to understand ourselves, understand what we want in the situation, be able to control ourselves. But the next and most important thing, aside from being able to understand and control ourselves, is to understand what's going on with the other person. Now, the thing is that we can't live in their mind. We can't see what they're thinking. So the only way we can get this information is by listening. And there's a few keys to listening to other people's stories and what they see is going around. Last week we talked about some very generic things just around, and today we're going to talk about the steps of how you listen to someone. And they spell out the word AMP. We're going to use an acronym of AMP with two P's. Generally it's AMP with one P, but if you really, really need to, and people really don't want to share their story, you throw in the second one. We'll get to it. But we're going to start here with number one, ask. When someone is visibly upset, you could tell that there's something crucial going on. The first step is to ask. Sometimes they aren't going to share their story until they have been asked to do so. Just generally be inquisitive, like we talked about last week. Be curious about what they're going through. And if you're curious about what they're going through, you're going to ask them what's going on. Now, sometimes people don't take to that very well. Sometimes people aren't describing what's going on very well in their lives. And that first step just alone does not work. And that's where the second thing from last week, be patient, stick with it, listen, comes into play. So remember to be curious and be patient. That was the two things we talked about last week. So A is ask. And if just asking isn't getting you anywhere in the conversation, then you go to mirroring. And mirroring is when you take what you have access to, the knowledge that you have access to, what you can see is going on, and you acknowledge it and you tell them what you're seeing, okay? And this is generally just telling them back what they look like or what they're acting like. You say, so a lot of times, okay, let's go back to the asking. So you ask someone what's wrong and they say, oh, nothing. But there you go. By the tone of their voice, and you could share this back with them. Be like, by how you're saying that, I could tell that you're angry. The tone of your voice said that you were angry, and I want to know, is there something deeper that goes beyond the no, everything's fine? And you have to be very, very careful how you state those things, because we are just stating what we see. We are not putting our story, what we think, on top of that. It is just try to hold just to what's going on in the moment. If there is that drawing back, you say that you're fine, but you're drawing back and you don't want to talk. There's something there, and I want to know what's going on. It's that very particular thing of restating what you're seeing in that exact moment. Try not to go too much beforehand, and definitely do not add your story on. It is not time for you to share your story right now, okay? You have to create a spot where they're willing to meet you to talk. They're even willing to talk at the moment. They are either in fight or flight mode, and you are trying to help them get back on topic. And finally, for AMP, for the normal set of AMP, is paraphrase. So they've shared what's going on, and the best way to get further on and also show that you're curious and you're patiently listening is to paraphrase it right back to them. They tell you this big long thing about something that's been going on at work, and you paraphrase it back to them. You shorten it up, concisely be like, oh, this is what's going on. Not trying to solve it there, not trying to fix anything, just paraphrase that which lets them know, oh, he's been listening, he's curious about it, and if there was any discrepancies as to what you just heard and to what they just said and what they feel, they'll clear it up there. Those 3 steps. So we ask, we mirror, especially when asking doesn't get us where we want to go right away, and then we paraphrase. We retell what we have heard back to them. And finally, if you're having problems getting the person to share, you've asked them, you've kind of mirrored some of their things back to them, and at this point you wouldn't have gotten to paraphrasing because they're not talking. This is the time to prime. So priming is when I told you not to use what our stories and what we're thinking when we're mirroring back to people what's going on. This is where we take that and we're like, okay, you're not telling me anything. This is what I see. And kind of priming the pump like they used to do at gas stations where you had to prime everything before it was all good to go. Or a water pump where you have to prime it. You have to get it ready before the water will come out. And this is not done in excess of emotion. This is just us stating things that we are seeing and the things that are going on in us without the emotion. Just stating the facts that we see. Priming them for that moment that we can figure out what's going on and they finally just open up. And if you prime for a little bit, don't go too far because it might be seen as annoying, it might be seen as snoopy by the person, and maybe they're just not in the right mood at that very moment. There are times that we are not ready to deal with specific with specific problems. And if you've asked them what's going on, you've mirrored back to them, you've shown them what you're seeing, you've tried to prime them, you've tried to get them going, and they won't go, take a step back, but come back to it eventually. And by take a step back, that could be excusing yourself from the room to do something else and then coming back. That could be doing something else with the person while you're there and coming back to the conversation later. Don't just leave the conversation, but keep it in the back of your mind that I've done what I can at the moment. I need to wait for when this isn't high emotions. If I can deal with the difference in opinion without the high emotions at that exact moment, maybe I can get to the bottom of this. And so that patience really comes into play. Let's go through a quick scenario here, and then I'll let you guys go and think more about how you can listen to people. Let's say that there is a husband and wife who've been talking about a vacation, and they both had different kind of ideas of vacation. Thinking about my personal parents, my mom does not like the heat. My dad was raised in Florida and loves the hot, humid weather. So when they plan vacations, they have to be very careful about what they pick and consider the other person's point of view. So this husband and wife, let's call them Jack and Jill. Easy to remember. So Jack and Jill talk about vacation possibilities and come to the conclusion that they both kind of enjoy to go on a cruise. This is a big vacation. It's their 15th anniversary, and they want to do something special. And so they decide that they want to kind of go on a cruise. They go off from the conversation, and 3 days later, Jack comes back super excited to Jill and says, "Hey, look what I have!" And he's got 2 tickets to a cruise in Seattle and Alaska. So Washington, Alaska, Canada, kind of colder weather, still beautiful area, but it was not what his wife was thinking about. And that was not what she was imagining when she was thinking about a cruise. And now there's a crucial conversation because she immediately goes into a hiding mode where she doesn't want to talk. So she doesn't want to talk. He can tell that something's wrong, but he doesn't know what because they agreed that a cruise would be good. But he didn't listen. He didn't wait to go through the final decision making, which we'll start talking about in the future couple of weeks, and did not just decide with her exactly what cruise would work, and went out and bought tickets to a cruise that was not what she was thinking about at all. Now, in this scenario, um, he's trying to figure out what's going on, and so his best response is to just listen to her and what the problem might be. It's not to put it out there. It's not to be all upset about the tickets. It's just um, to ask her what's going on. Hey, honey, like I bought these tickets. I thought you'd be really happy. What's the problem? And if she comes back with, oh, no, it's no big deal. Like it'll be okay, whatever. And mirroring it back to her, then saying, I can see that something's a problem. You're hesitant and you're withdrawing and you aren't excited about this ticket that I am. And I want to know why. I see that you're kind of ducking away and that you're kind of trying to do something that you wouldn't normally be doing. You're acting in a way you don't normally. And at that point, hopefully, you don't have to keep priming her to give to Jill to give you the answers that you're looking for and to just get to the bottom of the issue. Hopefully, you go straight into the point where she kind of takes a step back and says, "This is the issue," and I wasn't thinking about cold weather, even in the summer, just like kind of cool weather, Alaska, Canada, out on the ocean there. I was kind of thinking more warm weather. I was trying to thinking more like California, kind of Caribbean. That's what I was picturing when I was thinking about just laying on the beaches in the nice, warm, hot sun. And there you go. You've gotten to the issue. And as you're going through her telling you their story and what's going on, make sure to paraphrase back just a little bit. And so if, let's say, Jill tells Jack what her thoughts were on the cruise, and Jack goes, "Oh, so you're telling me that you you were excited about a cruise, but this wasn't the right kind of cruise. You were thinking more about this." And by doing that, you've said, I've listened, I was curious, and I'm making sure that all my information is correct before I make another mistake. And that's all it was. It was a simple mistake. But it set a whole thing into problems. And if they don't deal with that right there, either one, they're not going to end up going on a vacation, or two, they're going to be at each other's throats up until the vacation. And then even when they go, she'd be all ticked off because in her mind, she has a loss, or she has to do what he wants to do, and it'd lead to even bigger problems. And all of that is avoided. Well, first of all, you should probably decide together as a couple where you're going to go on vacation. But it's all diverted by the fact that you took the time to listen. I hope you guys are able to get a lot out of these. I really enjoy just coming on and sharing with you guys just a little bit. I look forward to next week working with those kids. Later.